Welcome, brave soul, I am the forgotten storyteller. Before we begin, tap that like button if you dare, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world you're listening from. And if you make it to the end of this video, I hope to see you in the next story. I hope you're ready, because I am. Let's begin.
Katie clutched the keys, their cold metal a stark contrast to the nervous sweat on her palms. Number 27, Inkerman Terrace. Her first home. It was a far cry from the leafy suburbs she'd grown up in, nestled deep in a high-crime district of East London. Security cameras perched on every other building, their unblinking eyes a constant reminder of the area's reputation. Graffiti, a vibrant yet unsettling tapestry of urban art, covered the brickwork. Even now, she could hear the distant wail of a siren fading into the night. Inkerman Terrace wasn't pretty, but it was affordable. And for Katie, a practical, independent spirit in her early 20s, it was a giant leap. A sign of adulthood, of carving out her own space in the world. She unlocked the front door, the rusty mechanism protesting with a loud groan. The interior was small, a narrow hallway leading to a compact living room and a cramped kitchen. Upstairs, 2 bedrooms and a tiny bathroom. It needed work, a lot of it, but it was hers. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of unpacking, painting, and assembling flat-pack furniture. Katie immersed herself in the domestic chaos, finding a surprising sense of calm in the repetitive tasks. She hung pictures, arranged her books, and even managed to coax a wilting basil plant back to life on the kitchen windowsill. Life felt normal. Then she noticed him. At first, he was just a peripheral figure, a fleeting image glimpsed through the living room window. A man loitering across the street, always in the same shadowy spot near the corner shop. Pale, gaunt, his features obscured by a cap or the hood of a dark jacket. He never seemed to be doing anything, just standing there, watching. Katie brushed it off. She was new to the area, hyper-aware of her surroundings. Maybe he was just waiting for someone. Maybe he lived nearby. She was probably being paranoid. But then she saw him again. And again. Each time, a little closer, a little more deliberate. The unease began to fester, a small seed of fear taking root in her mind. The creepiness escalated subtly, insidiously. Katie started noticing him in other places. Once, she saw him on the tube, a few carriages down. She dismissed it as coincidence. London was a big city, after all. But then he appeared again the next day, and the day after that. He was always there, just out of reach, a silent, watchful presence. Her walk home became an exercise in anxiety. She tried different routes, zigzagging through the maze of back streets, changing train stops, even resorting to Ubers. But somehow, he always found her. He was a ghost, a phantom, a constant, unsettling shadow. Fear gnawed at her. She knew she needed to do something, but what? The police wouldn't take her seriously. A strange man loitering? That wasn't a crime. Desperate, she ordered some cheap indoor and outdoor security cameras online. They were basic, easily circumvented, but they were better than nothing. She strategically placed them, hoping to catch something, anything, that would justify her growing fear. Then the notes started arriving. The first one was slipped under the door. A crumpled piece of paper with shaky handwriting, "I like watching you sleep." Katie's blood ran cold. She stared at the note, her heart pounding in her chest. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. More notes followed, each one more disturbing than the last. One was left inside her mailbox. "Would you go on a date with me?" Another, scrawled on the back of a takeaway menu, chillingly proclaimed, "Tonight, I will join you in bed." Panic clawed at her throat. She rechecked every lock, every window, her hands trembling. The back door, which she'd habitually left unlocked for quick access to the small garden, was now fortified with extra bolts and a heavy chain. The psychological toll was immense. Her friends, bless their naivety, thought she was overreacting. "It's probably just some harmless weirdo," they'd say, their words offering little comfort. Her performance at work plummeted. She was sleep deprived, constantly on edge, jumping at every shadow. She couldn't concentrate, couldn't focus. Her boss, a stern woman with little patience for personal problems, gave her a warning. Every night was a torment. She double-checked every lock, every window, the anxiety tightening its grip with each passing hour. Sleep offered no escape, only a restless cycle of nightmares filled with shadowy figures and whispered threats. Days turned into weeks, each one a slow descent into terror. Then, finally, a breakthrough. One of the motion-activated cameras, the one pointed at the front door, captured a clear image of the man's face. It was grainy, distorted by the low light, but undeniably him. Katie stared at the screen, her breath catching in her throat. She didn't recognize him. He was a stranger. The footage was even more disturbing than she'd imagined. It showed him lurking near her house for hours, carefully avoiding the camera angles, almost as if he knew their layout. He was methodical, patient, a predator stalking its prey. Emboldened by the evidence, Katie contacted the police again. She showed them the footage, the notes, recounted her experiences with trembling voice. They listened politely, their faces impassive. "We understand your concerns, Miss Johnson," the officer said, his tone weary. "But unless he breaks into your property or physically harms you, there's not much we can do. We'll increase patrols in the area, but..." He trailed off, the unspoken "you're on your own" hanging in the air. Despair washed over her. She was trapped, alone, with no one to protect her. Then came the subtle violations, the insidious feeling of being watched, even within the supposed safety of her home. Her toothbrush was wet, despite her having not used it. Her bedroom smelled faintly of sweat and cologne, a scent she didn't recognize. A single muddy footprint, too large to be hers, marred the pristine surface of her bedroom rug. The hints were subtle, unsettling clues that someone had been in her house while she was away. The realization sparked a new level of fear. He wasn't just watching her, he was infiltrating her life, her space, her sanctuary. Rain lashed against the windows, a relentless drumming that echoed Katie's frantic heartbeat. It was a night made for horror. She checked every door and window, double-checking each lock, each bolt, each chain. The hockey stick from her school days, a relic from a more innocent time, lay hidden under her bed, a pathetic weapon against the unknown. She tried to distract herself, watching TV, reading a book, but her mind was a runaway train, hurtling towards the inevitable. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside, sent shivers down her spine. Sleep was impossible. Around 2:30 a.m., she heard it. A soft click, almost imperceptible, followed by a faint creak from the hallway. Her breath hitched. She froze, every muscle tensed, listening with agonizing intensity. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, purposeful. She scrambled out of bed, her heart pounding in her ears. She grabbed the hockey stick, its familiar weight a small comfort in the face of overwhelming terror. She hid beside her bed, pressed against the wall, the hockey stick raised, ready to strike. The doorknob slowly turned. The door creaked open, inch by agonizing inch. He was there. The man entered, silent as a shadow, moving straight towards the bed. His face was obscured by the darkness, but she could feel his eyes on her, cold and predatory. In his hand, she saw the glint of metal. A knife? A screwdriver? She didn't know, didn't care. All she knew was that her life was in danger. Without thinking, fueled by adrenaline and desperation, she swung the hockey stick with all her might, hitting him hard across the head. He stumbled, a grunt escaping his lips, and then collapsed to the floor. Katie didn't hesitate. She bolted. She ran through the hallway, down the stairs, her bare feet pounding on the wooden floor. She fumbled with the locks on the front door, desperate to escape. She burst out into the street, the rain blinding her, soaking her to the bone. She saw headlights in the distance. A car. Salvation. She waved frantically, screaming for help, her voice lost in the storm. The driver, a middle-aged woman with a startled expression, stopped. Katie dove into the car, gasping for breath, begging to be taken to the police station. At the station, she recounted the entire story, her voice trembling with exhaustion and fear. The officers listened, their expressions a mixture of concern and skepticism. They agreed to check out the house, but their tone suggested they expected to find nothing. Katie booked a room at a cheap hotel near the station, grateful for a safe, if temporary, haven. Sleep finally came, but it was fitful, plagued by nightmares. The next morning, she cautiously returned home with police backup. The house was eerily silent, undisturbed. The officers searched the premises, their movements thorough but perfunctory. They found no sign of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle, no man. "Looks like he's gone, Miss Johnson," the officer said, his voice devoid of sympathy. "Maybe you scared him off." Relief washed over her, quickly followed by a chilling wave of dread. He was gone, but he could come back. She stepped into her bedroom, her heart pounding in her chest. The room was as she'd left it, except for one thing. On her bed, neatly placed on her pillow, lay a single new note. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, her eyes scanning the familiar, shaky handwriting. "Katie, I will see you soon, it won't be long until we're together again." Katie stood there, frozen in terror, the note clutched in her hand. Let us know in the comment section, what would you do if you found that final note on your bed?
Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts? Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.